you know, Copper Sky events that they offer. So whether it's swimming lessons or underwater basket weaving or whatever the case is, you know, there's clearly classes that take place in there, and so therefore they utilize the space. But I guess my real question is, it pertains to how do we manage the off hours? Because I understand the lap lanes and renting those out, you know, and if there's a tournament or things like that. But when you're talking about I'm having little Johnny's birthday party and I want to rent out the wet room as well as, you know, the entire pool area. If I'm going to do that, I'm certainly going to pay my fees as they are slated according to the fee schedule. But off hours means, so let's say I'm doing this at 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. I mean, that means I have to have people, you have to have people there at Copper Sky to open up the building and let people walk through and utilize those things. So, I mean, are we recouping those costs as well in these fees?
Yes, that's where these costs came from. These costs are based on what it costs to have a lifeguard available to handle these reservations.
Well, clearly on the lifeguard, but we're talking front desk or we're talking the classroom. I mean, you're kind of using an inside and an outside. I mean, don't they still have to walk through the facility to get to the pool area at some point? Or are we just talking about certain entrances or et cetera? I mean, explain that to me.
Yes, it would just, if it's, you know, an off hour time and they're coming, it would, yes, it would, they would enter through the aquatic center.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have access to the
so there's not the need to
building.
open up the rest of Copper Sky. Okay.
No.
So, but how would that work if they rented out the wet room? Because now clearly those doors open into the building, right? So you can't exactly lock them, can you? I mean, they do open into the building.
Right, and that's where the lifeguard staff, that would be part of their it would be part of the rotation that you had an attendant there, and it would just be part of that rotation.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Manfredi.
But you can lock it, so you can open it to the pool, but you can lock the ones that actually open up to the lobby.
Right, but I was saying, if you're renting out the wet room, that those doors open into the main area that goes towards the front desk.
Right.
So that was my question. Is if you're renting out that room, how do you keep them all out of wandering around through the rest of Copper Sky without having a full staff there? So clearly that makes sense, and if we think that's acceptable, I'm fine with that. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the end of my presentation, unless you have any other additional questions.
Any other questions or comments at this time? All right. Well, thank you very much, Christy. I appreciate it.
We'll go ahead and get these posted on the website for public comment for 60 days, and then we'll bring it back hopefully for approval.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. We're going to go ahead and take a 3-minute break, at which point we will start the regular session meeting. Thank you very much for being here this evening. If you'll please find your seats, we are going to go ahead and call to order the City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, July 7th, 2015. At this time, I'd like to ask Matt Balgard of the Church of Celebration to please come forward. He's going to offer our invocation, after which we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Mayor Brown. And if you'll all please stand.
My kids, every time I show up here, wonder, why on earth, Dad, do you have to go and pray for the city council? Don't they know what they're doing? And I say, kind of, but now I get to go home and tell them because I get free stuff when I do that. So, no, that's a good deal. Thanks for having me. Let me pray. God, thank you so much for our city council, for our mayor, Lord, for our civil servants, paid and unpaid. We couldn't be Maricopa without their help. I just want to acknowledge the truth about Scripture. Romans 13 talks extensively about the role of government. God, that they are not just a body of intelligent people that act on people's behalf, but they are literally a body that you put forward, that you create. It's a body of people that you maneuver to accomplish the purposes that you have set forth. And I just want to acknowledge right now, I know a few of our council members from church and or from town functions, and I know a lot of the people in the audience today. I just want to humbly say, first and foremost, Lord, as a pastor of a church in Maricopa, we need you. We are all broken people who desperately need your wisdom to do the jobs that you've called us to do, large and small. Secondly, I want to acknowledge, Lord, a lot of these positions are thankless positions. There's not enough money in Maricopa, this state, or the world for that matter, to suffer through the Facebook comments sometimes, mostly negative. I just want to ask that your special grace and your presence would be upon all of our council members, upon our mayor, our police, our fire, our city workers, Lord, people who have thankless jobs. May they feel your good pleasure in these moments, as sometimes we're deciding on things as small for some of us as chlorine and how much we should charge for it. Although $120 an hour is not a bad deal, they may have to spend a little bit more for the children's functions on chlorine. But all that being said, we just thank you, God, for the opportunity to serve, to lead, to be humble in the process, and to watch you do what it is that you do in our midst. God, we need you. Thank you for your presence here in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Matt, you can come back and pray for us anytime when we're talking about negative Facebook comments. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you, Vice Mayor. That'll take us to the roll call.
Councilmember Chapdos. Here. Councilmember Kimball. Here. Councilmember Manfredi. Here. Councilmember Smith. Here. Councilmember Wade. Here. Vice Mayor Brown. Here. Mayor Price.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. That takes us to item 3. We have proclamations, acknowledgments, and awards. At this time, we have a proclamation proclaiming the month of July as Park and Recreation Month. So I'm going to come down there. Okay, so we have this cool sign that I'm probably not going to hold while I try and read because I can't multitask, so I'm just going to put this over here. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the county, including the city of Maricopa, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas parks and recreation programs build a healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And our parks and natural recreation areas also ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Also, the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreations Month, and therefore, the City of Maricopa recognizes the benefits derived from the parks and recreation resources. So therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Park and Recreation Month inside the City of Maricopa. Congratulations. So I'll present this proclamation to Christy, who is our Community Services Director. There you go. Yeah. Prove it once again. There we go. Oh. Thank you.
Enjoy your little treats on your chairs.
Now, it may be Parks and Recreation Month, but protocol states there'll be no frisbee flying inside the council chambers, no throwing of baseballs at me, anything else like that. No, thank you very much. If you didn't get something, let us know. I think Brenda's back there. She's got a whole pile of fun things to play with. So the Slinkies are the best, by the way. All right, thank you very much. That'll take us to item 4, and this is the report from the mayor. As most of you know, it was the 4th of July, obviously, here recently. We had a wonderful opportunity to go to our new regional sports complex, Copper Sky. We had vendors there, we had sponsors, and most importantly, we had our veterans and the people of Maricopa there to celebrate what a wonderful time it was, fireworks, etc. So thank you all for participating in that, and we hope to keep doing that each and every year. I remember a time in which the City Council had to discuss whether to keep a fireworks celebration going on due to budget cuts and tough times, and I'll never forget that discussion. And I think I sided on the side of fiscal responsibility, but in the end, I think I was wrong, because I think getting together and celebrating our independence is one of the best things we could ever do. Also, just as a report, most of you know, you've seen the news articles, etc., but after the last meeting, I had the opportunity to go and attend the ADOT meeting, and as you know, we were approved for a second time into the ADOT 5-year plan for the 347 overpass, and so that means that ADOT has basically apportioned a placeholder of $36 million for us, and that brings us to the total and needed for completion of that project. That is a huge, huge win for us as a city. I cannot thank former mayor and current State Transportation Board Chair Kelly Anderson, as well as Ak Chen and all of our other partners that have helped make that possible, as well as this council and many other councils before us. If it wasn't for the constant pressing for that, we would not be here today. It takes so much time to build a road and to get funding for that road. And although the need is there, the need is everywhere. I can show you thousands of projects all over the state that are as equally needful as ours, and yet we were able to rise to the top and become a priority for ADOT. And so we really are appreciative of that. We're thankful to the board and thankful to the ADOT staff and everybody who's participated in that process. So that's a big win.
Mayor, nothing to keep rude and bother you, but we have to give you credit. We have to give you credit for your leadership in taking this on, Mr. Mayor, and all the time that you spend driving down the road, time for your family, everything, and we really do need to thank you for that as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The other things that happened in this past couple of weeks, as you know, is that the Maricopa Station grand opening has taken place. Those restaurants have all opened up, at different times, from the Chipotle to the Starbucks to the Sports Clips, etc. And so we are very thankful for those businesses for participating here today. I had the opportunity earlier to meet the new owner of O'Shea's, who's in the back there. If you wave your hand, there you are. So make sure you patronize his establishment as well, but get to know him. And we are very thankful for the opportunities of the businesses coming here. It certainly improves the quality of life and helps spread the tax base. And just briefly, had the opportunity as well to talk to ATRA, as Councilmember Smith said earlier. It's a tax-based research association. As the taxes in Pinal County and the CAC taxes that we pay in property taxes are going up this year. I understand them. It is unfortunate. I wish it wasn't happening. But all I can say is what we control as a council are the city of Maricopa's taxes, and those are not going up. In fact, they're decreasing. So I'm happy to report that as well. And then finally, last but not least, I've taken a lot of time. I know there's a lot of interest in this subject, and I just wanted to briefly mention it, not to get into it. People may or may not be here tonight for a call to the public on this issue, but I wanted to let you know that as a city and as the mayor and as a citizen, I've had the opportunity also to meet with ED3 regarding the solar issues, as well as proponents or opponents of what ED3 is doing as well. I took time on both Monday night of the past week and then Tuesday during the day for several hours to discuss both sides of this issue. And so I think that certainly as a council, we will continue to brief the council, but I think I'm fairly well versed in the issue. As a solar user myself, it's something that I firmly believe in, but at the end of the day, I also have to have a functioning and healthy utility in order to bring in new businesses, such as the hospital that we're all working towards at the next step of that development on north of the Chipotle there. So it is something that I think needs to find a balance. At the end of the day, we don't have that jurisdiction, but it is something that we have put in our 2 cents on both sides, and we'll continue to participate in those discussions. So from that standpoint, that is the report from the mayor, and I will turn the time over now to nobody, as I'm going to ask for one more thing. You didn't hear enough from me. Thank you very much. This is our shameless plug for the Maricopa Special Census. In case you didn't know, Maricopa paid for a special census. And why that's so super important is that federal dollars and dollars that are going to other cities, because you live here, you may have moved from someplace else, but that only shifts every 10 years. Well, that's a real problem when we go as a high-growth city from, let's say, 40,000 to maybe 50,000 people. That's 10,000 people that we, the city, are not getting compensated for. And I don't want to make an issue of money, but you got to remember, those don't go into our coffers. Those go right back to putting police officers on the street, putting firefighters out there, to building roads, all the things that you want in the way of services. And so if we're not getting paid for that, some other city is. So it's really important that we stand up and be counted here. So that being said, we're conducting a mid-decennial census, or an every 5-year census, if you will. And so we're going to start that this fall. But we need your help. We can't do it by ourselves. We need to get the word out and let people know that it's happening. And secondly is that we actually have to hire about 154 what are called enumerators, which means that they're census workers. They're going door to door, they're talking to people, they're getting the count, and we know that clearly 100 people live at every single door in Maricopa, so that's a good thing. I'm just kidding. But at the end of the day, we do need 154 people. So applicant testing begins August 12th, so write this down, August 12th. Training will begin in September, and the enumerators will begin door-to-door surveying October 1 of 2015. This will last until just before Thanksgiving. Enumerators are asked to work anywhere between 25 and 40 hours a week. They can work daytimes, evenings, weekends. There's a lot of flexibility here, but when you're looking at the state of things, it's a pretty darn good job. I mean, for a part-time work, it's going to earn about $13 an hour plus mileage. Those who qualify will be hired, so it's not a whole lot of stringent regulation. If you qualify, you're going to be hired. And so if you'd like to learn more about being a census worker, go to the city website and submit your name and contact information. And if you don't, if that's not enough info for you, please see Paul Jepson over here. He's going to raise his hand right there. There you go. Please see Paul, and he'll be happy to answer any additional information or questions you might have. So now I'm finished. Thank you very much, City Manager.
Honorable Mayor, council members, I'd like to introduce our new Director over Development Services, Mr. Martin Scribner. Martin comes to us from Kentucky, and he has a very extensive background in planning, and I'd like for him just to introduce himself.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, again, my name is Martin Scribner, and I've spent the last 5 years in northern Kentucky, so just over the river from Cincinnati. So obviously I'm used to a little bit different landscape than what I've been seeing the last 3 weeks, but I'm starting to get used to it. I haven't melted too many times.
That's good.
But this summer's just half over, so we'll see where that goes. So I have about 17 years worth of planning experience. Again, I think the staff in the Development Services Department is getting used to having a planner in charge, and so far I think it's going well. I've really spent the last 3 weeks now, 2.5 weeks, getting to know my staff. That's been my first priority. Have spent time one-on-one with every single one of them. Also been getting to know our other department heads, really kind of concentrating on that, as well as the bigger projects that are going on. There's an awful lot of information to absorb, so getting there, but definitely working on that. So those are my highest priorities. The general plan obviously is a big priority. I know Councilman Smith and I talked Saturday, which, by the way, I was at the 4th of July party Saturday and had a good time, had my family there, and it was definitely well planned and well executed. So, so back to sort of some of the general plan stuff. I just completed in my last job a 3-year process of putting together the new comprehensive plan for a county of 160,000 people, which included 19 cities, which included all new goals and objectives for the first time in 40 years. So I like to think that the expertise and the experience is there. In getting to know my planning staff, I'm absolutely certain that we have that knowledge, that expertise. Again, I think Dana mentioned that the timing is definitely going to be something that we're going to be pushing. But having Dana in charge of the of the general plan is going to help with that for sure. So as we sort of transition from Dana, doing more things for the department, we're working on the details now of transitioning him into pretty much full-time working on the general plan, as well as still kind of helping me get my shoes tied in the department. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to say hello and for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Maricopa.
Thank you, Martin. And just to follow up, where do you live?
I live in Rancho El Dorado here in Maricopa.
Thank you very much.
I apologize. I was told to mention that and I forgot. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
No problem. Thank you, Martin. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Welcome aboard.
Honorable Mayor and council members, I'd also like to bring up our Finance Director, Brian Ritchell, who has a new employee to introduce.
Mayor, City Council, I'd like to introduce Brenda Hassler. She is the new Finance and Budget Manager. If you could please stand up. She has it was a very extensive search, and we're happy to have her aboard. She has extensive experience in both auditing, governmental auditing, and governmental accounting, both with the state and the city of Chandler. And so, especially with the year-end close coming up here, or that just passed, we're starting to get ready for the audit and getting all the year-end adjustments and everything else and getting the financials. She's going to be a great help with that. With working with the state and the city of Chandler, she's done many CAFRs before, so we look to continue the receiving the GFOA award moving forward, but we are very happy to have her aboard and with the City of Maricopa team. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to just break form a little bit tonight to, I think one of the things that binds us all here tonight is the fact that we're Americans, and any act of violence on one of us is certainly a strike against America as a whole. Having said that, I'd certainly like to extend my condolences and prayers to those individuals' family who were victimized several weeks ago in South Carolina. It was truly needless, but more than anything, I think that is something to be said for where they were victimized in a house of worship. And so I believe that every American can relate to that, that they should certainly feel secure while they are worshiping God. And I just want to send out my condolences to their families. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Rose. Appreciate it. Go ahead and give her a pass. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. At this time, we will now move along the agenda to the item number 6. This is the opportunity for the public to step forward and address your council. Please be aware that the council doesn't typically respond in the fact that these items are not legally agendized, but we do ask that you come forward, state your name, and we do have a little clock up there that provides sufficient time for everybody, and it will help you keep track. So it's about 3 minutes apiece. So please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, if I could get you guys to come down tonight, we have a small presentation from the organization Vet It, and I'll explain a little bit about that. But if I could get all of you down. Also, I'd like to have City Manager Rose, Chief Stahl, and I was going to ask our fire chief, but unfortunately he's not here, but if a representative could step up. Vet It is an organization that was founded by former Councilwoman Julia Gussie. And what we do with Vet It is we're filling a void we're filling a void for veterans. When you have men and women coming out of the military, one of the biggest battles is transitioning from the jobs that they did in the military to the civilian world. And right now, we're the only organization in Maricopa and the Stanfield area, but we're also the only organization doing this in all of Pinal County. Now, one of the things that I can tell you, and if you ask Chief Stahl or our fire chiefs or even the mayor, we have several members of our military that have, when they've left the military, they go into law enforcement, they go into firefighting, they even go into being city council. We've got both Bridger Kimball and Henry Wade up here that are people that have done that. So what we're doing tonight is just saying thank you to these men and women, to these people, and for what they do. I have my assistant here. We actually have Vet It t-shirts for everybody up here, and we just want to show our support for City Council and for the city and what they do, and thank them for their support of what we do as well. So. And the question is, are they going to put these on tonight? And I'll be riding in the police car on the way back, guys, because I already see the look on Chief Stahl's face. Now, I just want to point out on the front of these t-shirts, it says the organization Vet It, which is an educational organization, but on the logo itself, it says freedom isn't free, thank a veteran with the American flag. So for all of the veterans in Maricopa, in Pinal County, and here tonight, thank you for your service. And they're going to kick me off here, so.
Thank you. Rachel.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to make an announcement to everyone. I'm not sure if you recall that I do facilitate a college prep program. And one thing that I have discovered is that we have a lot of college seniors who are not prepared for college entry. And I'm helping a couple students right now with the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. It's required. We are beyond the deadline for submission, but it's still not too late to submit for 2015, 2016. So I do want to afford all the students in Maricopa. I do not charge a fee for this program. So I have some students who are kind of struggling through the application process, have made some changes as far as their college plan, so I want to avail myself to them to let them know that I can meet them at the library on Wednesdays from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and I will commit that time period for any family that needs the service, because I want to ensure that all of our students are well prepared and are knowledgeable on entering into college, but more importantly, completing college. I had one student who almost gave up after only one day, and I told him I'm just a phone call away, and just after that phone call, helping to reassure him of the process and just learning how to actually submit an assignment online. It was just that simple, but it's just that challenging to some. So if you know of any student or any family who is in need, I'm helping them obtain financial aid. I have clients from my consulting business who are willing to submit funds to support. So I just need the students to come to me because I don't want them to feel like they don't have any options. So if anyone knows anybody, please see me and I'll provide you with the business card and we can move forward with helping our students to gain higher education. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I'm back again. It's just one of those things. I'm here as a community leader tonight to let everybody know on July 24th, for our city, Maricopa, Maricopa Police Department and the Maricopa Walmart are teaming up to provide the second annual MPD Maricopa Walmart backpack giveaway. We're looking at doing approximately 300 backpacks this year, filled with all sorts of goodies. Last year, we gave away approximately 250 backpacks, and it was a very fun event. This will be held at Copper Sky. If I remember right, the timing that we're doing it on July 24th, it is a Friday. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then right after that, at the Walmart store here in Maricopa, Walmart is going to have a lunch there. They're gonna cook hot dogs. They've got chips and soda. $1 covers all of that. The money for that, anything raised for that event, will go to the MPD Cares for Kids program. So I encourage everybody to stop out, make a presence, see what families are coming out and engage with them at the backpack giveaway. But then afterwards, we also have the lunch that, like I say, for $1. The great thing is Walmart's supplying everything. Frito-Lay is providing chips. Coke and Pepsi are providing all the drinks for the day. So, and that runs from 11 till either 2 or 3, depending on how busy it is. One more thing that we have going on in the community is one of our local homegrown businesses, Honeycut Coffee, is going to be doing a re-grand opening on August 15th. Now, I've already spoken to the mayor, and I'm going to invite city council to come out and take part in this. It's not only are they going to have a ribbon cutting, but they're going to have a bunch of giveaways and things like that to encourage people to come out. So come out and support a great small business that started from scratch in this community. They're not a big corporate concern, so we can cheer them on and how they've succeeded and stuff. So again, that's going to be August 15th, and that'll start at 10 a.m. in the morning. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else at this time like to approach City Council? Okay, seeing no one, we will go ahead and move on. Go ahead and close the call to the public. Move on to item 7, which is the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3, please?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That'll take us to the public hearing, item number 8. This is 8.1. The mayor and city council shall hear public comment on the city-initiated proposed street name changes. At this time, if you would like to approach the city council and talk to this item and this item only, you may do so. And Rudy, do you have something for us?
Mayor, council members, I just want to make a couple comments for public record. As an update to this, I guess there was a couple comments when this was presented back as the initiation of the street name change. Just want to make a couple of comments on that. One, this request for the street name initiation change was basically drawn from, actually we got this from our general plan that requires staff to take inventory and identify deficiencies in street naming and alignments and fixing those alignments within the city. Two, one of the things that we did proactively to kind of combat any type of issues is to also discuss with our local postmasters of how to identify make sure our citizens are going to get their mail. We met with our postmaster for additional consultation for potential transition of affected areas. Our postmaster explained to us that the affected addresses will be linked permanently between the existing and proposed address. In the event that the existing addresses change, the new address will continue to be received mail from the old address indefinitely, so there will be no issues with that once the two addresses are linked. We also want to make sure that this is a definite priority in terms of public safety, which both our police and fire departments fully support this request, and also in terms of notice to the public, in terms of public participation, mail letters, newspaper advertisement, posted signs, city website, articles also went out to the public, and there was a comment at the last meeting to verify if there was any impacts to local businesses of home-based businesses within these proposed street name changes. We found only just one home-based business that will be impacted, so there was not actually a lot. And lastly, I just want to make those are my statements on this. If anything, go ahead and continue the public hearing, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. Okay. Anyone wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time on item 8.1, and that'll take us to the consent agenda. Council, if you remember, we have consent agenda minus items 9.7 and 9.12 or 912. Can I have a motion to approve consent without those items, please? Have a motion and a second from the Vice Mayor? Yes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So consent is approved at this time, and that'll take us to item 9.7 first on the regular agenda. So this is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council accepting a public trail and open space easement in the Province subdivision, which is generally located within the City of Maricopa on a portion west half of Section 23. This is for discussion and action, and Councilmember Smith asked for this to be pulled, so I will throw it over to her for her questions.
In terms of the information that you guys provided, and I really just have one question. I asked a few questions earlier of staff and received answers there, but my concern is really focused around the acquiring of an easement that's on a wash. And because I've had a lot of discussions regarding the wash and the maintenance of it and who's responsible for it, it concerned me that we were taking on an easement for a wash that would cost us money. And who's responsible for the upkeep of the wash, which can be costly, and is that part of our budget? So that's my primary concern, and just looking for a discussion on that.
Councilwoman, Mayor, this request was in due to respect to something that should have been dedicated to the city a long time ago as part of the plating process. In terms of maintenance or actual construction and maintenance of the future, that has not been discussed with this request. If anything, this is just kind of like a placeholder for the city to make sure that we do have a dedicated trail easement for in the future. In regards to our Parks, Trails, Open Space Plan, this is actually a natural trail alignment that discusses this, of having this within our area. So unfortunately, I can't speak on terms of long-term of construction and maintenance. If anything, consider that almost as a placeholder.
Right, so it's not construction maintenance that I'm worried about.
No.
And by the way, you answered one of my other questions, is it part of our general plan and and the trail and path that we have planned? Yes. So that's good news. My real concern is that there's ongoing maintenance of the wash that's associated with ownership of the property that edges up to the wash. And that's something that even without capital improvement that you're responsible for. And so my primary concern being, is that the case for us by taking on this easement? Is there cost associated with it, and is that cost covered in our budget?
Councilmember, Mayor, so it's only 100, actually 20 feet easement width.
Okay.
The actual, looks like from the middle of the center of the wash is about 150 feet. So the rest of the wash will still be maintained by the actual property owners of the Providence community and
Right.
then the other side of the, I believe, the villages.
Right. So,
Mayor, Councilmember Smith, if I can just add to that.
Sure.
I think Rudy is 100% correct, and we're not taking on any maintenance responsibility unless the city builds the trail. So if the
okay,
city
that
builds,
helps a lot.
the city builds the trail on the 20-foot easement, then we take on responsibility for maintaining the trail. But we don't take on any responsibility for maintaining
Very
the wash.
good. Okay, so the transfer of the maintenance of the wash is not put on the city by the city. Okay,
Nope.
perfect. Absolutely great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on this item, council member?
Nope.
Any additional comments or questions from other council members? If not, I would accept a motion to approve, please. I have a motion and a second to approve item 9.7. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that'll take us to item 9.12 or 9.12. 9.12 is the mayor and city council discuss and possibly take action on approving the proposed 5-year capital improvement plan. This is for discussion and action. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. So my concern here was that the CIP was reviewed by the BFO in full detail, but for the rest of the council, we primarily focused on year one, and given that this is a 5-year plan, I would like to ask the rest of the council if you see value in actually having a presentation during the work session. I know that I would, and considering it's a 5-year plan, some discussion on is something missing, I would like to participate in a conversation like that, and so I'm looking for feedback from other council members.
If I may, let me throw something to City Manager Rose here first for additional explanation on some of the plans that they have outcoming, and that might help answer some questions and lead to additional discussion, and we can go from there. So, City Manager.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Smith, I think the intention is for us to start the capital improvement process, planning process, in about 3 months. That's typically when it occurs. This year, the process will be a little different than what you've experienced in the past because we will have our own advance at the staff level where we will talk about developing a 2-year work plan. That's one of the linkages that we talked about to the vision and to the budget documents. And so that's one issue that I would ask that you keep in mind, that we're about to start this process again. The other issue that you raised is accurate, that the first year of the CIP is integrated with the annual operating budget, so it's included into that, and that was discussed with the mayor and council when each department talked about their budgets. The remainder of that document has not been discussed with the mayor and council at large, but the intention is that the document is going to change each year. And I would suspect that based upon the discussion that we'll have at the staff level, the retreat that the council has, and the integration of those 2 working plans, we may have significant changes. So certainly we will be responsive to whatever the mayor and council decides on this issue, but I think a lot of effort will be going into preparing for the discussion for the next 5-year plan.
Thank you. So we're talking about really having the ability to hear and have some input within the next 4 to 6 months-ish?
Yes.
Okay, so given that, I'm comfortable with that, and I'll just leave it for the rest of the council to choose that as well.
Okay. I have to say that, hearing that, I appreciate that. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I think that based on the discussions that have been had thus far and based on the information that's being presented in that respect, I think, me personally, I feel it's a little premature if we were to jump the gun prior to that, simply because, what takes place in year 2, 3, 4, and 5 are always subject to change. They're always jumbled around. They're just kind of a guesstimation, right? And remember, this year we went from a 10-year CIP to a 5-year, so we've actually shortened that length of time. So, really, we've kind of advanced that. But the reality is that what is really capable of being done is only within that next fiscal year that we go through all those processes for. So I think it would be somewhat premature if we jumped the gun prior to, those budget retreats, those strategic planning retreats, the meshing of the documents from what staff is able to do from their retreat and bring to us, and then look at that and then have that full discussion there, because I think that will accomplish exactly what you're setting out to do. So if you're okay with that.
Being that it's a 5-year document and somewhat of a vision document,
Absolutely.
I didn't want a whole year to go around before we get an opportunity to talk about the whole.
Absolutely.
So I'm comfortable with the 4 to 6 month timeframe.
Perfect. Council, any other questions or concerns regarding this at this point? Yes. Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second. Any further discussion or questions on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. That'll take us to the regular agenda then. On item 10.1, we're going to possibly take action on making an appointment to the Board of Adjustments. If I am correct, it is Councilmember Chapados' appointment for this particular item.
Mayor, I'm Mr. Greg Campbell, has expressed interest in being appointed to the Board of Adjustment. He currently sits on the Nonprofit Funding Evaluation Committee, so he would be resigning from that, and I would ask for council support to appoint Greg Campbell to the Board of Adjustment at this time. He is here.
There he is right
Greg?
there. Wave your hand, Greg. Thank you very much. Appreciate your participation on that other board, and if pending council approval, look forward to your participation on the Board of Adjustments. So the motion before us is for Mr. Greg Campbell on this particular board, the Board of Adjustments. Is there any further discussion on this? If not, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much, Greg. We appreciate your service. At this time, we'll move to item 10.2. We're going to possibly take action on approval of a second amendment to the existing contract with Sunland Asphalt. This is adding compensation in the amount of $1,090,937.67 for a total amount not to exceed $2 million. This is for street maintenance and services. This is going to be drawn from the half-cent county road tax fund, transportation, street projects, capital, street maintenance. This is for discussion and action. Bill, take it away.
Mayor Price, members of council, each year we have a pavement management program. In most cities, including Maricopa, the biggest asset, the most valuable asset, other than our people and esoteric things like that, is our right-of-way and particularly our pavement. We have to maintain that pavement. Pavement is a flexible, moving, almost living thing that needs to be maintained. We can defer maintenance, but that means we'll have more costs down the road. And we have a maintenance budget every year in the millions of dollars. And it comes up in a number of fairly innocuous contracts. Every once in a while, about every other year, you are entitled to a certain overview of that program. And sometimes we can do that as a work session item all by itself, similar to our frequent discussion of parks fees, or in the case of an action item such as one we're bringing forward. This is as good a place as any to actually give you a bit of an overview of the entire program, since this is the first of several contracts we will be bringing forward. There is a number of things we do for our roads for maintenance, and I want to go over what each of them are and give you a rough overview of when roughly we're going to be looking at maintaining some of the different neighborhoods and the types of roads and the type of things we do to maintain those things. Next slide, please. Oh, wait, I guess that's me, huh? Yeah, there we go again. No, it was up there. I killed it.
Just a trick.
Once again, it's probably best if I not touch anything. Ruben, I think he is. Why would anyone besides Chief Stahl want to mess with me? Yeah, no, we don't. That's the wrong presentation, Ruben. I shouldn't have used his name. There we go. Okay, there we go, streets. So this is a rough inventory of what the streets we have, of the streets that we maintain. Now, some of the work is done literally by our streets crew, and really what I'm going to focus on today is the top part of the lane miles of asphalt. We also have some unpaved roads. Those are done directly with our crews with graders. You've probably seen them out there on Farrell Road occasionally if you're a glutton for punishment and you're driving out there. And we'll talk on a different day about bridges when we have to touch those. Okay, Ruben, could you go 2 slides forward? Our streets are designed, we have a couple advantages and a couple disadvantages. Streets are designed or intended to have roughly a 20-year lifespan. Streets can be kept with proper maintenance going considerably longer than that. And there's one type of, sometimes called maintenance, really it's not, it's a rebuild called a mill and overlay. That's at the end of the lifespan. That's where we rip the whole road up. We crush the road, or we crush the asphalt as aggregate. We add the oils and whatnot to it and put it back down as brand new pavement. One of our advantages is that our traffic counts are lower, and asphalt wears out based on the amount of traffic and the amount of time and weather conditions and a few other things. Now, our roads are fairly new, which is an advantage, and our roads have lower, for the most part, have lower traffic counts than they were designed for, which is an advantage. One disadvantage is that we have a lot of roads that were put in really at about the same time, which means they're going to theoretically, they're going to wear out at about the same time. They're going to be at the same level of maintenance. By doing the diligent maintenance that we are and keep it on top of them, we're hoping to be able to spread that out or even eliminate a big bill coming down the road someday. Next slide, please. It's the green button. You didn't. It stopped using it when I did that. You watch. You're going to mess with me. These are some of the existing funding sources that we have. Mostly these are transportation, but we can use them in fact, most commonly within cities, they are used for pavement management. Cracking is one of the first signs of problem. Now, cracking is inevitable in any type of pavement. In fact, it's a natural part of the process. Where cracking starts to become a problem is when it gets too big. The first line of defense and maintenance is our crack sealing program. I carry a specific type of pen. It's just a hair under a half. The cap is a hair under ½ an inch, and it's a quick test I use when I walk around. I drive the streets either Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon. I get out 40 or 50 times on each one of those tours to poke this guy into a bunch of those cracks. Theoretically, anything over ½ an inch is really our target for what we're going to be doing with crack sealing. Crack sealing is our first line of defense. I'm going to be talking about the specifics later, but really we come in with essentially a pressure washer and then I don't know what the name of it is, but it's a tool that squirts a line of tar into it. So sometimes you come and you go to a road and it's not nice and even black. It looks like there's a black spider web crawling across it. That's actually a good thing. That means the cracking has happened. That's a normal process, and someone has come through and crack sealed it. We had some complaints about the amount of cracking. We didn't think it was out of line a few years ago, so we actually hired a firm to come in and do an analysis to support where we were doing crack sealing and the amount of crack sealing, and redirect us if need be. The name of that firm is Nino & Moore. You approved the geotechnical contract. We have an example of that, or we have actually that report available if you want it, but it did justify what we were doing. Now, this is, I don't want to make too much out of this. Transverse and longitudinal type cracking just means they're going the long way on the road or the short way across the road. Alligator cracking is what you are probably most commonly going to run into. That's cracking kind of going all over the place. The little cracking that you see in this road here is actually natural and normal. It's not a big deal. You drive over it. When they start to get too big, again, we seal them. If they start to get really, really big, that indicates a problem in the subgrade, and that usually indicates either we're going to have to do some pothole refilling or we're going to have to do a rebuild. If the soil is really jacked up underneath, there's only so much maintenance you can do. All of these maintenance methods, to some degree, it's a little bit like baking a cake, and not baking a normal cake, but the way my mom bakes a cake. God love her, she was a great Italian cook, but she couldn't bake to save her life. And her method to solve all problems with a cake was the icing. You can fix any problem with enough icing. And in fact, she had a cake that fell in all that, like it made a big pit in the middle, and she just got an extra can of icing and just filled the whole thing. Pavement's a little bit that kind of way. And when we have a real problem, when we have really bad cracking, indicating a subgrade problem, if we need to, to some degree, you can fill the whole thing in with icing if you have to. These are examples of the type of maintenance. Now, different types of contractors provide different types of products and different types of maintenance, but these are examples of the types of maintenance products we use on our streets. They're used for different purposes. They're used on different cycles. I'm going to talk about the cycles in a little bit here. Slurry seal is a very thin seal. It's a very commonly done process. It's a little bit like a coat of paint. It makes the road look fairly nice and black. It's more important than paint in that it actually reacts with the asphalt and rejuvenates the asphalt, but it's about that same thickness. Chip seal is thicker. In fact, sometimes we call it temporary pavement. When we talk about, for example, in a private development that's building, but you have to put in a secondary access just for this month so that the fire trucks can get in, usually that's a chip seal. And we have roads in this town, we have roads in most towns that were just built by chip seal being laid on top of itself over and over again. Fog seal is a lot thinner. It's a lot like spray paint. It's thinner, it's a little more expensive, but it gets in the cracks a little better. Crack seal I mentioned. Crack seal is really, it's actually a multi-step process. Sometimes you vacuum it out if it's big enough. Usually you blow it out with essentially a pressure washer, and then you come in with tar and squirt it in there. I don't want to make it sound any more technical or elaborate than it is, because that's kind of real. Well, you squeegee on top of it too. Asphalt repair is the bigger thing when you've got, at its worst case scenario, you're bringing in a backhoe and ripping the thing out and even repaving a section. And concrete repair is a little bit different. I tend to put these hand in hand. Concrete repair is a separate creature than the asphalt repair, but it's necessary and it's attached. This is the curbs, the ADA ramps, sometimes the gutters, the things that attach to the asphalt, essentially, or that frame the edges of the asphalt. I don't expect you, I see Councilman Kimball immediately reaching for his eyes there. That's kind of my reaction too. I actually blew this thing up here. Oh, there go the glasses. But I wanted you to just have this for your reference. These are examples of the types of things that we have done and the types of things that we are paying in the coming months, years here. Examples of treatments that we are using, life cycles, and where we are going. The most important part to notice here is that we do a full maintenance on every arterial road once every 7 years, and we do a maintenance on collector and local streets once every 5 years. That does not include if we have spot problems. So, if you get a big pothole or something that's getting kind of jacked up, to use engineering terms, and we need to get out there and fix something on the spot, we don't. Well, sorry, you're 2.5 years away from that. Sorry, we'll get you in. No, well, of course we'll get it right out there and just fix that on the spot. These are examples I want to just put in your hand tentatively. These are examples of some of the contracts you have coming up. You notice in total it's about another $1.5 million. There are some cities, I don't want to mention any specifics, there are one or two that are doing a lot on pavement management. I don't know where they're getting all that money from. There's a greater number right now that are deferring maintenance and have been for a number of years. The downside of that is they're just kicking it down the road. It's like, I think your roof is supposed to get reshingled every 10 years. You don't have to do it every 10 years. You might go 15. My cabin right now is at about 15. But it just means, you're going to have to pay for more exterminating and water damage and all that other stuff that comes when the bill finally does come to get paid. I mentioned a little bit about our schedule. The colors aren't showing up as well as I'd hope. Well, they are kind of there. But what we have done is we have divided essentially all the streets in the city into 5 sections, and we will be doing maintenance on all of these, one section per year for each of 5 years. Now, this does not include the arterial roads that run between it, which are being done on a separate schedule. Okay. Now with that, obviously we just have an individual item here, but I wanted to give you an overview of what we are doing in terms of pavement management, knowing that throughout the next 2 years, every few months, I'm going to be putting a couple items here and there for crack sealing or slurry seal or whatever. TRMSS is one of the common products we use. That's a type of slurry seal. And with that, I will ask if you have any questions.
Councilmember's question, Vice Mayor, and then Councilwoman Chapados.
Bill, in addition to the traffic flow, does the heat have any influence on the frequency of the stress that occurs as far as the cracking?
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor Brown, yes, it does. Heat affects things. We have an advantage in that we have very good weather. We have a disadvantage in that our temperature range is a little bit broader. Theoretically, asphalt is actually a fluid material. It's constantly flowing and bending. It's just going very, very slowly. And the fact that the concrete is, or that the asphalt is being driven on, and there's a tiny bit of oils and things falling off people's cars, is actually a good thing for the asphalt. If you think about any time that you've been out in the wilderness, or not necessarily in the wilderness, but in the desert, and you've come across an old airstrip that someone stopped using a long time ago, and it really kind of goes to pot pretty quickly. That's what we're trying to avoid. But temperature does affect it. On the other hand, we don't have salt, and we don't have snow removal equipment, at least not yet, given the global warming. I don't think we will in the coming up either. That's scraping against ours. So there's advantages and there's disadvantages. For the most part, I think overall, having worked in other states, I think the weather kind of benefits us. We kind of drew the long straw on this one a little bit, but the heat would be the downside.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chapados.
Bill, my question is about striping. I noticed that when we finished the Honeycutt Road widening project and resealed that, there's new striping on, including the addition of bike lanes. So, and I know that was a direct result of some staff input. So I want to actually thank Rob Dolson in Development Services for being proactive in that. But what's the plan with streets when they get their resealing? If there's no current striping there, will there be striping that's added new, and will that include bike lanes, or will it just be resealed and left in its original state with no striping?
Through the mayor, Councilwoman Chapados, the general rule is we put back, in fact, we put back the striping that was there before. There is an exception in Maricopa, and that relates to bicycle lanes, but for the most part, we put back the striping that was there before. It's usually built into the contract, and the type of companies that do most of this work, particularly the slurry seal or the chip seal, back up it, particularly the slurry seal, they have that capability within their company. Now, one exception that we are doing is we are putting in bike lanes because there's a number of neighborhoods where on collector and even arterial streets there weren't bike lanes put in the first place, and those are being added, although some of those are being added even without the asphalt maintenance. That's our intent. I don't know for sure that we're catching all of that, and I hope you don't have a specific road in mind.
No, not off the top of my head. So for example, like if let's say an arterial street, the only striping that currently exists is crosswalks. That would be restored, and there's a possibility that bike lanes could be added even though they didn't exist previously.
In fact, during the maintenance cycle would be a good time to add them, unless the maintenance cycle is a couple years away and we want to do it before then. We have gone through and just striped roads. We just redid Honeycutt Road. Now that wasn't maintenance, that was actually a full improvement, which is obviously much more expensive. But Honeycutt Road east of White and Parker, we just did some restriping just in and of its own right. And we can do that, and we are doing that, and that can be done.
Okay. So I guess for purposes of clarification, I've had conversations with several people in various HOAs throughout the community that currently do not have bike lanes. And they're comparing themselves to communities that do have bike lanes. If they wanted to initiate such a project prior to the resealing, would that be on their dime? Should they approach the city? How would that work?
Through the mayor, Councilwoman Chapados, the repainting and restriping for the most part is being done separate of the maintenance program. Okay. We do have a program right now where we are trying to add bike lanes, and for the most part it is HOAs that are adding them initially and the city that is maintaining them afterwards. That is the trend. There's probably exceptions because it's a little bit case by case. And our subdivision code requires that new subdivisions that are going in all have those bike lanes now.
Right. So one of the requirements that you would need to look at is the width of the arterial to see if it could accommodate the bike lanes, correct?
That is true.
Okay. That answers my question.
Councilman Chapados, that is true.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Yes, Councilmember Wade.
Could you go back to the previous slide?
Oh, the other questions were easy. Now you're going to Yes, there we go.
I'm sorry, I just thought about what that was. You said this is a 5-year plan, so the colors that are there, is that like the blue is 1 to 5 or 1 to 2, or how does that?
It is, unfortunately, because I was working on this kind of right up until the last minute, which is why I thank you, Ruben. I can't get too mad at him for how things are going. I didn't get a a legend made in time. I believe blue was done in this last year, and I don't remember which ones are coming in, which one is this year, which one's the next year. So I believe, I wish there was a laser pointer here. There probably is, but it's best if I not touch anything. I believe blue was already done, and then hypothetically yellow would be the next one, purple would be the next, but this is just a breakout of the 5. I could get you a legend put on this easily enough, which we are intending to do in each of the upcoming years. But in concept, you are correct. One of these is for year 13 or 16, one of them is for year 17, and so forth.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions of Bill? If not, I'd accept a motion to approve this item.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. 10.3 is an IGA. The Mayor and City Council discuss possible take action on approval of an intergovernmental agreement between Maricopa Unified School District number 20 and the City of Maricopa for the joint use of facilities. Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, traditionally we've always worked very closely with our partners with MUSD, Maricopa Unified School District, and all our schools here. In 2008, we had our first facility sharing agreement. Things were very different. It was pre-Copper Sky. We ran a lot of programs through MUSD. It was kind of a one-way agreement. They agreed to open up their facilities so we could use that. We had no facilities other than trailers to open up to them, so they didn't take advantage of that. But we did have permits that we were waiving at that time. They had a strong construction program going on, and there were fees and things that we could waive in exchange for that room. Fast forward to today, we now have Copper Sky. We have a lot of facilities, but traditionally we have very popular programs in volleyball and basketball during the summer. In the multipurpose rooms at the middle schools, winter programs. We have some classroom programs that we run in the summer, and we still the community still benefits from the partnership between MUSD and Maricopa to put these programs on. This agreement allows a two-way sharing where we can have priority to rent their facilities. They have the option and priority to take advantage of our facilities. And it just lays out those insurance and little things that need to be taken care of on communication. And so this agreement pretty much will be more of a longer term given what is going on in the way of we both are more mature and more established entities. The agreement that's before you for approval was negotiated between the school and the district, or the school and the city. It was passed by the Maricopa Unified School Board on May 27th, and now it's here for you to ask any questions and possibly approve.
Council, questions on this item? It seems to make sense to me that we work together to make the most out of all of our limited resources here in Maricopa. So I appreciate the MUSD being willing to continue to working with us, and I'd like to see that we continue doing the same with them. So, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
All right. Item 10.4, we're going to, let's see, ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Maricopa, Arizona, levying separate amounts to be raised for the primary and secondary property tax levies upon each $100 of the assessed valuation of property subject to taxation within the city of Maricopa for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016. This is for discussion and action. Brian.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The kind of the final part of the budget is adopting the ordinance for the levies, the tax levies, the primary and secondary. Just to give I know it's kind of been, that's all we've been pretty much talking about is primary and secondary property tax lately with the county and the community college district, but wanted to kind of give the citizens another overview of kind of the taxing authorities. You have the county, then you have the MUSD, also the state school equalization, the community college, any special districts, and also the city. All of their different rates combine into one combined property tax rate. So we're just a small portion of that. All of it combined equals the rate. So a little, the levy process, two types of property tax levy as mentioned. There's the primary, which supports operations. The citizens of the residences of the city of Maricopa approved voter approval for a primary property tax, and that goes towards the police operations, public safety. The levy is restricted by state statute for 2%. There was no increases for fiscal year 15-16. The secondary property tax is a little different. That is restricted only for debt service payments. The debt service payments that we have are for Copper Sky. So you can't use those for operations and maintenance. It is just strictly for the debt service. And the levy is set during the budget process, and as I mentioned, it is limited by state statute. The net asset valuation is determined by the Pinal County Assessor's Office, and then the rate is kind of an after. It's what is calculated afterwards when you have the levy and the net assessed valuation. Comes the rate. It's a byproduct of the calculation. And I know we had Greg Swartz, our finance advisor here last December, kind of going through the main or the difficulties of calculating it. This is kind of simplified for you and for the citizens, but the levy is what is primary, what the city is the revenue that brings in. The rate is kind of the byproduct of the equation. So just to give you a little overview of last year compared to this year, the primary levy stayed neutral. The secondary levy decreased. Fiscal year 14-15, the levy was about 10.3 million and was 4.98 for the primary property tax. The secondary levy was 4.9 and the rate was 2.37 for a total rate of 7.34. This year, for fiscal year 15-16, the levy increased just a little bit, but the rate decreased. The levy increased from 10.5 million, but the rate decreased to 4.78 million, and the majority of that is due to the net assessed valuation. It increased from 209 million to 219 million, so that helps as the net assessed valuations increase, the rate decreases. Then the secondary property tax, the rate or the levy is 3.7 million, and that is our debt service payments. That is strictly just for the debt service. And so it came out to a rate of 1.69, so a reduction from the 2.3 to the 1.69.
And Brian, can you explain on that secondary again why we did that last year versus this year?
Yes, Mayor. The reason for the higher rate last year, just for the 1 year, was that the city did a balloon payment of $3 million to reduce the interest rate throughout the rest of the loan. We paid down a bigger portion of the principal up front, which reduced the rate for the coming years, which saved a few $100,000 on the total amount for the bond.
So basically, just again, I always point this out, but as promised, I mean, this is, by paying that balloon payment in this amortization schedule, you basically reduce the taxpayers' risk overall as to paying more money by paying this down early on and then taking that rate back down so that you can pay that off for the rest of the time, correct?
Mayor, yes,
so
that is correct.
Basic fiscal management.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. And this kind of gives you just a real brief overview of primary and secondary through the calculation of $100,000 value. If you go across all the way over, the levy for the primary on $100,000 is $478.45. The secondary is $169.73. So the total tax for a $100,000 home would be $648, but that's just for the city of Maricopa. You also have to take in consideration the county, the college district, and all the other taxing districts. Other than that, any questions?
Council, questions on this presentation today? Okay, seeing none, we need to move to a roll call vote on this particular item as it is an ordinance. And so this is the final part of the budgetary process as we adopt the levy. So with that, I think I've read this whole thing, so move to the roll call, please. Yeah. Motion, seconded, please.
Councilmember Smith? Yes. Councilmember Wade?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. Item 10.5, the mayor and city council discuss possibly take action to approve adding the following new job classifications to the city's salary plan effective July 7th, 2015. This is for a few different items: public safety communications dispatcher, public safety communications dispatcher, which is on there twice, trainee, a parks and equipment operator, full-time recreation services lead, grants coordinator, systems analyst, part-time victim advocate. This is for discussion and action. Kathleen?
Mayor and council, this is the request to adopt 7 new classifications in our salary plan. I do need to point out there is a typographical error. The parks equipment should be parks equipment mechanic, not parks equipment operator. This is not a budget item. Each of these positions is budgeted separately and approved by you. This is simply to add these classifications to our salary plan. There is a survey that I do of the regional cities to compare the descriptions and the salaries to make sure they're appropriate, and at how they compare to one another within the system as well.
So basically, just for clarification purposes, this is kind of it's putting the classification inside the banding that currently does not exist, correct?
That's
so
correct.
just because we put these in doesn't mean we're rushing out and hiring all these people. It just is putting them in the banding so that if the opportunity presents itself and that request comes along through the city manager to council in the future, we have that ability to put them in there or decide not to, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Any further questions? All right. If not, can I have a motion to approve this item, please? Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kathleen.
All right.
Item 10.6, this is the resolution of the mayor and city council authorizing the city manager to offer a benefits package to non-represented employees that the city manager determines is comparable to the negotiated memorandum of understanding with represented employees. Kathleen.
Mayor and council, this item is to authorize the city manager to grant benefits that are equivalent in value to our non-represented employees, comparing them to the MOU represented employees that you've already approved and adopted. So specifically in the report, we want to offer a top-out pay, a sick leave payout in the event of a line-of-duty death, and a floating holiday for individuals who meet certain performance criteria.
Okay. Any questions on this item, council? All right, seeing none. Yes, Councilmember Smith.
I keep pondering just the budget aspect of it, and I don't recall any conversation on this addition of benefits, so just asking, is it covered in our current budget and our forecast for the coming years beyond this year?
Councilwoman Smith and Mayor Price, yes, this was something that we included when we looked at the budget for all of the employees, included the MOU represented
Okay.
employees.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Any additional questions on this item? If there are none, can I have a motion to approve, please? Have a motion, is there a second? Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, we appreciate it. And item 10.7, the resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Maricopa authorizing the city manager to initiate a 6-month pilot wellness program for all city employees. This is for discussion and action. City Manager Rose.
Honorable Mayor and council members, I'm seeking approval tonight for the creation of a wellness program that would be a pilot program for the city. There are several elements to this program that I would like to just briefly review with you. There would include such elements as a health risk assessment, assist employees with awareness of potential health risks, participation in a variety of exercise activities, attendance at health education seminars, participation in competition to incentivize healthy eating habits, use of the Copper Sky exercise activities, and that's the primary reason that this item is being brought before you, and also to encourage annual employee physicals. There are certain goals or objectives which we're trying to reach or achieve with this. One is simply healthier employees. We think that it will have a positive impact on the reduction of sick leave time. Also, added benefit for a positive impact on employee retention and recruitment. One of the other issues that we're faced with, if you think about workers' comp, one of the components of a workers' comp formula is called a modification. And so the average modification is 1 for all cities. And the higher your mod is, the worse off you are. So the average is 1, ours is 1.63. So we think that this program will have a positive impact on our mod experience with workers' comp, so we hope to reduce costs there. But in addition to this program, we're also creating a safety program that we also believe will benefit us in our workers' comp efforts to reduce our cost. I'm asking for this to be a pilot program because I cannot tell you exactly what those impacts will be. I know that over a 6-month period, we should be able to analyze that information and provide you with some hard numbers on what those impacts will be. So we will come back, if it's approved, we will come back to you after a 6-month period with a report identifying exactly what those impacts are. I will respond to any questions that you have.
Thank you, City Manager. Council, questions? Yes, Councilmember Chapados.
Great, thanks for bringing this forward. I think it's a good idea, but I do have some questions just for purposes of clarification and also just so everybody understands what we're proposing here. My first question is, how do we define employee?
The employee, as we've currently considered it, would be identified as anyone that has a consistent paycheck. The way that the program would work is that that would be required. So if your paycheck is intermittent, you wouldn't be able to qualify for it.
So by intermittent, can I interpret that correctly as being possibly a contracted employee on a seasonal basis or on a project basis?
That's accurate.
So employee with a regular paycheck could be included part-time employees?
That's correct.
Okay. Would that include city council? Because we're not technically employees. How would that affect us?
Everyone that has a consistent paycheck would be eligible for the program.
Okay. The other thing, and this may just be a personal bias on my part, I think what we're saying here, I think it's important to communicate that we are advocating to offer free memberships to our employees. I totally agree with you that that's an important consideration for both retention and recruitment. I also think it's going to have tremendous benefits on morale, just being able to access that. But I also, in talking with HR director, it's important to understand that this has a value to anybody who avails themselves of this. It's an optional thing. It's not an automatic perk. You would have to go through the membership requirements, as I understand it, fill out the paperwork. You would have to declare this as part of an employee benefit, so you would be taxed on the value of that depending on what level you participated at. But I also see this as another advantage that for those people who may be considering a membership of Copper Sky right now, but find it cost prohibitive based on the number of people in their family, this may also help increase the use and the membership levels at Copper Sky, because it's my understanding the difference between what an employee's value would be and the difference in, let's say they go into a family membership, they would only have to physically pay that difference. Is that correct?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Chapados, that is correct. One of the things that I would also highlight is that it is a program that you would have to work at. You would need to enroll in our wellness program once it's created and rolled out. Okay. And if you were not participating in that, then you wouldn't qualify.
Okay. And that was actually my last question is what kind of measurements are we putting in place to measure the success? Because I know if it's like, you know, New Year's resolutions, I'm going to get out there and work out 2-3 days a week, and that lasts about 2-3 weeks. So as long as you're considering some kind of measurement or matrix, looking at reducing sick time, on-duty injuries, those types of things, I think 6 months is a good benchmark to see where we're going.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Chapados, once we have our program in place, the intention is to provide you with a report that identifies exactly how the program will work.
Okay. If this was approved, how soon would it start? And there wouldn't be any financial impact on those that already have a paying membership, correct? It would just be from the point of renewal or based on fiscal year or date of employment? How would that work going forward?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Chapados, it would have an impact on those that are currently paying. They would be eligible for this program as well.
Right.
With regards to when it would actually start, that's above my pay grades. I'll turn to 30 days?
30 days.
30 days.
But any employee who's currently paying a membership, there's no refund mechanism. So
Honorable Mayor.
it's budget neutral from that respect, right?
That is accurate.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Councilmember Wade.
She asked all my questions, I tell you. No, I just have one question in reference to the 6-month period. Then the employee would be able to have use of the facility for free during the 6-month period as well, through the pilot period?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Wade, that is correct. Those that were eligible and participated in the wellness program would have access to Copper Sky to use for exercising.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Councilmember Kimball.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question for clarification. After the 6-month program, are you going to bring this back to council to approve going forward? Or is it just a set program and we're going to get like a report card after 6 months?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Kimball, our intention is to bring back to the Mayor and Council a report that identifies what those impacts are and to ask, and depending upon what those impacts are, we'll either be recommending to terminate the program or to extend it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions? I for one, am supportive of the fact that I think that, you know, I've sat on for the last, 3 years now, our health committee where we redo the medical insurance for a city of this size. And I know Councilmember or Vice Mayor Brown has sat on that. And I remember several years ago, we spent, 24 to 36 hours in committee meetings going over how to be creative and how to get those costs down because they are just soaring. And you know, I think that anything that we can do from an outside the box thinking, but perhaps more importantly, that if we can encourage folks, incentivize folks to participate in this, certainly healthier, happier employees produce more, they do more. Retention is a goal. It is something that helps us. But I just look at, I mean, the millions of dollars that this city has to spend on health insurance costs. And if we can reduce those by $500,000, you know, or a couple $100,000, it's huge. It's huge. And I just think that you know, again, this pilot program can help lead us down that road. And I would also offer the fact that you know, I would almost be willing to say, you know, to the report card status and certainly the recommendation, but I would almost take it one step further with, don't be afraid to ask for another 6-month continuation, because I do worry that anytime you're talking about health and getting people involved, it's going to take some time to get the word out through the organization. It's going to take some time to get people, you know, excited about doing it and to participate and to try it out and hear that, you know, their next door neighbor's doing it and they find it useful and helpful. And so I would be, you know, as a council member, I'd be willing to listen to certainly an extension for another 6 months to say this is a year's worth of time frame so that we truly have the data that's required so that we can make this educated decision. Because like I said, I think if we can work towards getting our health insurance costs down, especially renewal rates, that's a huge dollar savings to the taxpayer, and I think that we have a duty to do so. So that's my support of the issue. If there's any other questions or concerns at this time, if not, I would accept a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes our agenda for tonight. Can I have a motion from council to move to E-session, please?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries. Thank you. We'll adjourn and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming.